Greetings everyone. Today I will be attempting a repair on this gooseneck tea kettle because as you can see what seems to have happened is it has sprung a leak exactly where the gooseneck meets the main body of the kettle. Now of course the first thing I tried to do was I contacted the company, inquired about the warranty, but of course, because it was out of warranty, they said there's nothing they can do. They won't repair their own product, and they told me to go send it to a repair shop. That's the best they could do. So now I'm stuck wondering, okay, well, how am I going to fix this? Because I don't want to replace it. It's $70. All of that. The first idea I had was, well, perhaps I can epoxy this, but quickly found out that, well, this gets hot all the time. Standard epoxy doesn't stand up well to heat. Then I thought to myself, well, what about high heat epoxy? Well, might not have that particular problem, but most epoxies are probably toxic and I couldn't really find anything food safe, so that idea was out. So the next thing I thought, well, hey, you know, this is stainless steel. What if I can solder it like copper pipe? And sure enough, stainless steel can be soldered, but there's a caveat. It's a little bit more difficult to do, but if I succeed and the solder is just like copper pipe, then this should be actually a relatively handsome and permanent fix, because I think the way they manufactured this, they just kind of crimped this gooseneck to the main body of the kettle, so it's kind of inevitable that it would break, spring a leak if you so much as bump it, maybe constant thermal expansion, contraction, and all of that. So it's only like 3 years old and it's already leaking like this, which is unfortunate because I like the kettle, so I'm going to try to fix it. And the first thing I did was I poured a 50-50 solution of vinegar and water in here, and I boiled it and I let it sit, with the idea being that hopefully if there's any crud buildup, hard water buildup, and perhaps that's even part of the reason why this may have failed, is because perhaps hard water gets into like this seam and then crystallizes and then maybe slowly pushes apart. Perhaps that's part of the reason. So my idea is to get it as clean as possible for the best soldering joint that I can get out of this. So should be relatively decalcified now. Next, I'm going to prepare the surface that I plan on soldering. So first, I'm going to get this as clean as possible. I'm using a bit of degreaser on the surface, followed up by a little bit of vinegar to make sure that there's no residue left whatsoever. Okay, hopefully that's clean. Now let's talk about soldering stainless steel. Now, according to some of the research I did, stainless steel is not so easy to solder because it has an oxide layer, and you cannot just use standard flux, and I'll explain what that is in a bit, to solder it. The solder won't stick. So what you actually need is two special things. You need, well, I got this kit. I got this kit from Harris. I'll leave a link to it in the description. But supposedly, what's different about this is that the flux, which is basically an etchant, and that prepares the surface to accept solder, and you combine that with a solder that has silver in it. Maybe that's what makes it extra sticky, but also importantly, this has no lead in it. So it's non-toxic, and that is why I think this should theoretically work. Non-toxic, will stick to stainless steel, just takes a little bit of extra prep. So let's get started. If I succeed, then I think I will deserve a Nobel Prize for this. I busted out a whole bunch of tools out of storage for this, and hopefully I will only actually wind up needing a few, but I got my soldering iron. I don't know if I'll need that because I am told that, or I have read that, a torch is actually the preferred method for heating the steel and being able to solder to it. I'm going to use this heat gun to try to get the stainless steel to be on the higher side of temperature, because all I have for a torch right now is this little food torch. So I don't know if this will have enough heat to heat stainless steel, which as far as I know, it's not that easy to heat stainless steel. And then finally, I brought my grilling thermometer with infrared mode so that I can tell just how hot this surface is. So here comes a little bit more prep work, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to carefully sand using 200 something grit paper, sandpaper, exactly where I want all the solder to go, and it's going to be all around where the gooseneck meets, but also on the surface of the gooseneck, because my idea is I want the solder to be both on the surface, and I would really love it if the solder could wick inside here and really create a strong joint. So I'm going to do that. Okay, it is sanded, and I took relatively great care to try not to touch any part of sandpaper to the rest of the body of the stainless steel so that I don't mar the body of the kettle. Now I'm just going to wipe off any stainless steel residue, sandpaper residue that I might have made around this joint. All right, now I'm gonna use the heat gun and try to gently heat up the area where I'm planning on soldering. I'm gonna try to be careful as I can not to potentially warp this plastic base here. Now as this heats up, I will use my IR thermometer to see exactly where I'm at with temperature. Moving on up. Now, according to my research, supposedly the temperature is supposed to be 600 to 800 degrees Fahrenheit in order for the stainless steel to readily accept the solder. Hence, this is why I'm working so hard on getting this as hot as I can. Alright, now I have no idea if this is accurate by any means, but it says 225, 230 degrees. That's fairly hot. That's better than boiling. So next up, I will actually apply the flux and then take the torch to it and try to solder it. So here's the flux. Stay clean. Trying to make sure I get it all around the joint. And now, assuming I can get a good camera angle, I'm going to take the torch and see what I can do with the solder. Okay, now I don't know if this was done by Picasso or Mr. Magoo, but hopefully that actually sticks. Now the next thing that needs to be done is all this acid needs to be cleared and neutralized off the steel, so I'm just going to take a wet towel and wipe it off. Out of an abundance of caution, I'm actually going to mix some water with baking soda and soak this towel in it and wipe off the surface to make sure that any remaining acid is totally neutralized and doesn't wind up blemishing the steel. And as a matter of fact, out of one last abundance of caution, I'm going to take that same baking soda solution. I'm actually going to pour it into the kettle just in the event that any of that flux actually managed to wick its way past the seal and into the kettle, so that none of this nasty acid winds up as residue in the kettle. And then, of course, I'm going to rinse this out. Okay, now inquiring minds want to know, is this actually a good joint? Is it stuck nice and well to the stainless steel? And I want to say the answer is yes. I can't pry it off. It doesn't seem to want to break off. Alright, well now the million-dollar question. Does this actually hold the water in? I think that's a yes. Does water still come out of the spout? Okay, good for me. Why don't I boil this and make absolutely sure that my celebration is not premature? Alright, we're just about at boiling here, and I see no weeping. Wonderful. Nobel Prize, here I come. And there you have it. For about $20, it is indeed possible to fix a leaking gooseneck kettle. Now, you know, it's always funny because I shoot these videos sometimes repairing these things for the first time, having no idea if it'll actually work or not, so I'm glad it really worked out for me this time. Now, of course, this doesn't have to be a Cosori kettle because it's a funny world we live in. There might be 100 different brands, but probably only like 2 or 3 manufacturers, so chances are there are many gooseneck kettles just like this one with a peculiar crimp joint or whatever it is that they use. So I hope this works for many people. I'll leave a link to this stuff as well as any tools you might need in the description. And as always, thank you for watching.